Hi, this is Jennie from Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a card making video for you, so get comfy and let's get crafty. I will be working with some Fawn products. These are not new products, and some of them have been in my stash for a while and have not ever been used. The first stamp set I pulled out is this Critters in the Arctic stamp set, and I want to use it with this Peekaboo backdrop die. And I have selected a piece of 6x6 pattern paper to trim down for my card front. I am going to cut this pattern paper with the backdrop die, and I am adhering the die to the paper with some washi tape that I've kind of put on my skin and my shirt sleeve to take some of the stick off. I don't want it to tear the paper. So once I have run this through my die cut machine, I will take all the tape off, and it cuts out the frame, but it also cuts out the panels that go in each of those windows. And I had purchased this die cut, this backdrop die, so long ago that I had to go back to Fawn's channel to see how to remember how to use it. It had been a minute. So the next thing I want to do is take these flaps. So there's two types of flaps. One that open the flap up from the bottom, and one that cuts a opening in the middle of the panel, and they open side on each side. And I want it to flip up. So I am going to take these dies, and I'm going to use that same washi tape and adhere them to the panels that are cut out with the outline die. And I am going to make sure that there's a larger margin on the top because I do need to have room for a score line so that these panels function, that they can flip up. There are two types of dies, like I said before, and there is one of each size. So I will run both of these through my die cut machine 2 times so that all 4 of those panels have a window that opens on them. So now that I've got them all cut out, I need to work on the score lines. And I felt like I needed to reinforce that score line just a little bit. So I have pulled my scoreboard out, and I'm just lining the score line up with one of the tracks on my scoreboard. I did decide to push it up to the top to make sure that I scored it straight. And you can see that kind of creates this window with an opening, a flap opening. And that's the interactive part of this card. Once I watched the video and remembered how I intended to use this when I purchased it, it was really easy to figure out. The only hard thing I have to remember is to put the panels in the right part of the die because it is a pattern paper. It is a continuous design. So the next part of this card I want to do is to temporarily tape this frame onto a piece of Nina 80-pound cardstock. This is the same size as my card front, and I'm going to lightly trace along 3 or 4 of each side of the windows. I think I mostly just traced the bottom and the 2 sides, because this is where I'm going to stamp the images for my card, and I need to keep them inside the outline. I didn't do a fabulous job on one of the sections, but it's okay, I made it work. So here I have 4 openings, and I really wanted to use the moose and the narwhal and the seal, or the sea lion, whatever it is. Turns out they're a little bit too big. So I pulled out my Misty stamp positioner, and I am going to put my cardstock, into the Misty in case I need to stamp it more than one time. That is just something I almost always do now. I seldomly use a stamp block, and if I do, it is just for a sentiment. I really do love this stamp positioner. It makes stamping everything so easy, and I can do all the stamping in one swoop. So here is where I'm realizing that this moose is probably not going to work. Like in my brain, I knew that his whole body wouldn't fit, but his antlers are so tall that I cannot even get his antlers and his nose in one of those boxes. So I went with the owl and the bunny, and then I tried the walrus, and no, he's too big too. And so I went to my stash and pulled out the Toboggan Together stamp set, and I used the penguins and the gift stack from the Toboggan Together stamp set. And I am going to pick these up with the lid of my Misty. I'm going to ink them up with the Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink because it is Copic friendly. I'm going to use the sleeve of my shirt to make sure I can just mush that down really nicely. And I did only have to stamp it one time because my ink pad is nice and wet. I did leave the images in the Misty lid just in case. So now I'm going to super speed fast through the coloring. Let me know down below if you want to see a real life or real time coloring video. And I for sure will make one of those, but they're kind of long. So I used some E30s for the owl, and I used my C's, like C9, C7, and C5 for my penguins. I used the warm grays, the W's, for the bunny, and I used some blues. They were in the 999795, I think, for the gifts and the scarf on the bunny, because those colors matched the blues in the pattern paper. So I used the B9s and I think the B3s, the B90s and the B30s, and that matched the blues in the pattern paper. I did have to do a little bit of tip to tip to kind of blend some of those out. And I used the B0s, like 02, 01, and 00, to kind of get a lighter blue in there. Okay, so I'm getting down to the end of the coloring, and I am going to put this panel back into my Misty and stamp it again, because especially with the penguins, the black lines do sometimes get a little bit lost. So it was just because I had remembered to leave the stamps in the Misty, I could go back and restamp that. And now that they have dried, I am going to erase the pencil lines from this panel. My eraser is being weird, and the eraser, I must need a new eraser in the handle because it keeps like falling out the end. I don't know. I do like this eraser, but it really was giving me issues today. So yeah, whatever. Okay, so now that I have all the lines erased, I decided that the penguins rather, are the only ones with open eyes, and it looked weird. They were just black. So I stuck a little tiny white dot in their eyes with a white gel pen. So this is my card base. This is a Stampin' Up! Dark blue. Might not even be a color anymore. I think it was called like Night of Navy or Nearly Navy or something like that. It was a dark blue. It matched the pattern paper. It was in my stash. I used it. I am making this a portrait style card. Sorry, a landscape style card, but a top folding landscape style card. So it will measure 5.5 inches across and 4.25 inches tall. And I'm going to adhere this white panel flat to the front of my card. And then I will put the Peekaboo frame on top of it and add the lift flaps, so the lifty flap, window flap thingies, onto the card front as well. And this is kind of where I realized that I had to really pay attention to where I was putting those, and where I realized I did not do a fabulous job of stamping those gifts in the center of that window. So first I want to adhere the panel down to my card base. I decided that was my first way of going, because any trimming off that needed to be done would be better to trim before I added that border on, because I've already trimmed that white panel down to be the size of that frame. So, okay. So for the frame and the window flap, I am using a 1/8 inch double-sided adhesive, and I have added it on all of the outside edges and the inside edges. And I'm doing a little trick here I learned from Julie Ebersol on the Ellen Hudson channel, and that is not to take the tape backer off all the way. Take it off half the way, get it lined up, and then pull it off the rest of the way. And that really was an excellent trick. I did not do that on my flaps. I didn't feel like it was going to be quite as difficult to line the flaps up, because they are going into that niche that they were cut out of. So it really was not as hard to get them lined up. This is fast forwarded like 8 times normal speed. So just as a point of reference as to how fast, or really how slow, I normally work. Yeah, so that's when I realized, I got it right. For a minute there, I thought I put it in the wrong one. I'm like, oh, no, wait. Okay, it's fine. And then I decided I needed to add something to that top right hand thing. But I have a plan already in play. So the next step is to add a sentiment. And I have these 2 sentiments that I stamped for a different project and didn't use. And they, the Sending Endless Birthday Wishes is from My Favorite Things stamp set. I don't remember which one. And the Happy Birthday is from the Simon Says Stamp Tiny Sentiments stamp set. I am going to back these onto a piece of that same dark blue cardstock, a scrap piece, and trim them out. I did edit that part out because it took me a hot minute because I was trying to use my guillotine trimmer because I still don't have a blade for my wire guided trimmer. Yeah, I know. I'm going to put this sentiment, sending endless birthday wishes, right here in the middle. I do need to make sure that I don't inadvertently tape down that flap. So it did take me a minute. I didn't want to glue the flap down or prevent the bottom flaps from opening. I knew it would fit. It was just a matter of finagling. So now that I've got those and they will all work properly, I am going to stick the happy birthday sentiment into that window that I did not stamp the gifts properly. Now it looks intentional. So the next part of my card is to add a little arrow and a lift the flap sentiment from this push hair stamp set from Fawn. And I did use a stamp block for this because it's a little tiny stamp. And I used the VersaFine VersaClair ink because rarely does it, I have never yet had this stamp off where it didn't stamp great the first time around. So I did stamp lift the flap on one flap. And then I pulled out one of the little arrows from, from this stamp set and stamped an arrow on all four flaps so that my nephew who gets this card will know that they're all supposed to come up. I mean, he's smart. He'd figured out anyway, but you know, just a precaution. So he doesn't wonder what in the heck is going on with this weird card, right? In my experience, kids love interactive cards. So when I'm sending them to my nieces and nephews who are younger, especially, I try to make them a little more fun. I'm going to go ahead and add a piece of copy paper into the inside of the card so that I can write him a little message for his birthday. And that is nearly the end of the card. So let me know how you feel about interactive cards. Thumbs up, thumbs down, yay, nay. If you would like to see a real-time coloring video, let me know. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Here are a couple videos that you can see a little bit closer up, and have a really fabulous day. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel and watching my video. I have linked a couple other videos here for you to watch, as well as a subscribe button. If you have not done so already, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. And if you know somebody who would like it, please feel free to share. Have a great day.